It's Thursday, January 10th, Friday, January 11th, if you're on the East Coast or across the pond. And this, my friends, is Spaced Out Radio. Hope you had a great day and night. I am your host, Dave Scott, broadcasting to you live from the Great White North, on top of the mountains of central British Columbia, right here at SOR headquarters. We welcome you nightly on the SOR Radio Network, Deep Talk Radio, Revolution Radio. If you want to take a listen to our archives, they are free at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Just do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot. Shop at our brand new Spaced Out Radio store. Pick up a t-shirt, hat, whatever you want. We got it. Read up on the SOR Newswire, put together by Captain Shirk, and so much more. Tonight's show is brought to you by the YouTube channel Nsuho. Sebastian Martin brings high-quality messages to the masses. Go to our website, click on the Nsuho banner, and subscribe today. The UFO field seems a little scatterbrained for the last year and a bit, ever since the New York Times article came out talking about the fact that UFOs were investigated by the U.S. government. Confirmation indeed. One of these groups who's been in the middle of all of this is MUFON. For the last 50 years, MUFON has been the leading source of UFO research across the United States, and some would say the world. The nonprofit group, though, has had its issues in the last 10 years, and tonight we're going to get into that with MUFON director Tom Whitmore. Tom has been a MUFON member since 1990. He has served as a state section director in San Antonio, Texas. He has served on the MUFON board of directors since 1995, serving as MUFON's treasurer and is a corporate trustee. We're also going to get into Tom's favorite research a little bit later on in the show, MJ-12. That's going to be a lot of fun. Then at the bottom of hour number 3, Olaf Phillips is back from Paranoia Magazine for the SOR Newswire. Mr. Tom Whitmore, welcome to Spaced Out Radio for the first time. How are you?
Thank you, Dave. I'm delighted to be here, and I just want to say that I love Canada. I went up to Winnipeg on a high school band trip many, many years ago. We stayed at the University of Manitoba. I once lived in Portland, Oregon for 4.5 years, and I went up to Vancouver there for a couple of days in the summer, and I sat in the park and watched the ships roll in. And I've flown up to Calgary, and I've driven over to Banff and up to Jasper and over to Edmonton, Alberta. So I love Canada very much, and I know a couple of Canadians. I know Stu Bundy, who's director on the MUFON board as well. And I also know Mark St. Germain in Quebec. So
good people. Very, very good people indeed in regards to that. Tom, you are a successful businessman. You're a former CEO of a major company that was doing over $200 million annually in business. Yet you always had the itch to investigate UFOs and stare up at the stars and wonder where they came from. What happened there that kind of gave you that interest in looking up in the stars?
Well, I'm from the baby boomer generation, and I'm from what I call the NICAP Hynek generation. I divide the UFO community into 3 groups: the NICAP Hynek generation, the Roswell generation, and now I'm calling it the social network generation. But I grew up, seeing movies like The Day the Earth Stood Still and The Twilight Zone, The Outer Limits, The Invaders, reading Tom Swift books. And with those kind of inputs, you have a tendency to have a little bit of interest in extraterrestrial life. And at the same time, there were mass sightings of UFOs in the 50s. And there were a lot of sightings and activity in the UFO field in the 60s. And at that time, the subject was covered extensively by the major media, mostly in the newspapers. And I was exposed to that. I really found it very, very interesting. And one day I was at a friend's house, and I noticed on the bookshelf they had a book by Donald Kehoe called Flying Saucers, Top Secret. And that piqued my interest, and I started reading those UFO books. And then when I got into my college years in the 70s, I got out of it. But then in the later 80s, I was walking down the street downtown here in San Antonio, and I walked past a magazine stand, and I saw a UFO Universe magazine by Timothy Green Beckley, and it caught my attention, and I read that, and at that point, in the late 80s and early 90s, I decided to become directly involved.
It really is one of those subjects that can take you by storm. It is one of those subjects where most people don't even think about getting into it until they've had an amazing experience that they can't explain for themselves. Did you have that life-altering experience that so many have, or was it just the intrigue? Because you have seen over the years the videos, the footage, the eyewitness testimony, the stories firsthand from people, which obviously can sway your belief. But previous to joining the MUFON, was there ever those lights in the sky or that alien hiding behind a tree that really, really wrapped your head around this entire subject being real?
No, not at all. I've never seen a UFO. Excuse me. And knowing what I know now, I'm kind of glad that I never have. My situation was that I love history, and I've been reading stacks of history books since I was 12 years old. And at one point, I became somewhat interested in espionage and intelligence work. And I don't have any background in the military or intelligence, but I got pretty interested in that. And when the UFO situation came to the point to where we were apparently dealing with government intervention in the way of some agent activity and disinformation and psychological warfare, that's where the two intersected. You know, the activities of intelligence agencies related to the UFO problem, and that's where my personal interests intersected, and that's where I really wanted to get involved.
Was there one particular story, Tom, in your 29 years now with MUFON that has really stuck with you, that you really believe, that you really feel that there is something going on? What convinced you? What's that story?
You know, there's a fashionable attitude, especially with some of the more conservative researchers, that the UFO Cover-Up live show, which came out in 1988, that was the worst UFO documentary ever produced. I have the opposite opinion. I think it's the most important UFO documentary probably ever produced. And I don't know if you've had a chance to see that one, Dave, but
I would have to go back in time and try and figure it out if I had or not.
Yeah. Well, Bill Moore was on there. They had people representing themselves as Falcon and Condor. They had computer graphics of the alien shape, the alien face. They described the activities in having an recovered craft and having an alien as a guest of the United States government. And I have been especially interested in that level of disclosure because I think that there has been something of a plan behind it. Mm-hmm. And after the in the 80s, what I'm referring to is the Roswell generation.
Yeah.
When the MJ-12 documents came out, and when the Roswell case became prominent, the UFO field has never really been the same since then. And
right.
even though chronologically, I'm from what I'm calling the high NICAP generation. In terms of direct involvement, I'm really from the Roswell generation, what I'm calling the Roswell generation.
when you look at ufology today, you've been with MUFON 29 years. Hard to believe that 1990 is 29 years ago now. That still freaks me out. But the fact is, that's a long time. That's a lot of evidence. And like you say, you're from that Roswell, NICAP type generation. What's the biggest change in ufology that you have seen in your histories and studies of it?
Well, the ufological community at the time that I came on the scene in the early 90s, MUFON in particular, but also CUFOS and the Fund for UFO Research, they were much more conservative than I think the general public is today. Back then, there were people in the leadership in those groups that did not want to believe that a flying saucer could crash. They thought that because they were that much more technologically advanced than us, that it couldn't happen. A lot of them were very reluctant to accept the idea of these alleged abductions, and they were very critical of using hypnosis. And I think because of that kind of a background, historically, when we look at the situation today, it just seems that people are so much more open to all of these ideas, the ideas that there may have been saucers recovered, there may have been bodies recovered, there may have been aliens that have been guests of the U.S. government, and so on and so forth. And now, in saying that, I'm not saying that all that is true, but I am saying that, in general, I think the public is much more ready to accept that.
You know, one of the
Dave, one other thing is, when I got into the UFO field in the 90s, we had so many changes over the years that I started to feel that we were being led by the nose, by the field itself. I mean, by the phenomenon itself.
Mm-hmm. Well, you know, one of the things that I think would be more difficult today is the fact that we have CGI, we have Photoshop, we have so much going on that can manipulate any potential good evidence that nobody really believes it anymore. I mean, we look at, there's one channel out there on YouTube that has 2 million viewers, and this guy doesn't care if he puts something on that's real or not. And yet he's getting interviews with Bob Lazar, and other reputable sources are not. And that's the way I look at it. This field, due to technology, has become increasingly difficult. Have you found that as well when trying to get proper evidence?
Oh, yeah. I mean, with the internet now and with digital technology, the game, say, compared to the 80s or the 70s, the game has completely, totally changed. And whereas a lot of people in the UFO field in the late 80s were getting very concerned that there might have been some kind of government manipulation and intervention in the UFO field, in the UFO public, which was more on a human intelligence basis. Now, with digital technology and with social media, the whole idea of injecting and manipulating information into the public sphere is totally, completely changed. You know, I just had a conversation with my daughter a couple of days ago, and she was remarking that now when TV shows and films are made, they could have two actors in one scene, and they can run several takes, and they can actually split the screen and take the best take from one side of the room and app in that to another side of the room, so they, in other words, they take the best take for each actor after taking several takes that way. And that's the kind of manipulation, technological manipulation that can go on. So we are in a real conundrum now in terms of believing information that's put in front of us.
How did you get involved with MUFON? What made you get to this upper echelon?
MUFON was being run by Walt Andrus out of Seguin, Texas. And Walt Andrus came to San Antonio for local meetings. And I decided during that time to become involved in the UFO field. And I ordered the field investigator manual, and I took the field investigator's exam. I passed the field investigator exam. I was appointed the state section director, and I ran the local group for some time. I did look into a few cases, and I had contact with Walt Andrus. And in some ways, you could say I was at the right place at the right time. Walt invited me to get involved with the MUFON leadership in the area at that time, and there were other people in the San Antonio area like Dennis Stacy, Tom Dooley. You might be familiar with the name Tom Dooley, who had been on the MUFON board for years. And a little bit later, I was invited onto the board, and that was in 1994 at the Austin symposium, the annual symposium in Austin, Texas. And that symposium was run by my dear friend, Ellen Stewart. So I was able to come on to the board at that time. And I remember talking with John Schuessler in the hall after the meeting, and we really thought that MUFON was really ready to take off in terms of participation, number of subscribers, number of field investigators, et cetera, et cetera. And like I said, we really were very optimistic about the future in terms of growth. And about that time, the internet hit.
Mm-hmm. That's a big step up, going from trying to get, investigators everywhere and canvassing over the phones, which at times may take weeks, if not a month or two, to get back to people. But with the internet, that really had to change the game back in 95, when all of a sudden everybody is doing everything online or realizing they can.
Well, and what made such a big difference, Dave, was before the internet, if you wanted to get what many people thought was some of the best and current information in the UFO field, you subscribed to the MUFON Journal. And the MUFON Journal is still very good, in my opinion. But the internet comes onto the scene, and all of a sudden you can go on the internet and you can entertain yourself getting all kinds of information about the UFO field, and reading blogs and looking at articles and so on and so forth. So all of a sudden, you can if you just want to be entertained, if you have just a superficial interest in the UFO field, you can get it that way. And that has really created a situation where it has been such that growth in participation in MUFON has been slower than we have anticipated. And I think that one of those headwinds is the presence of the internet and social media.
We only got about 2.5 minutes here before we have to go to break, Tom. In regards to the internet coming in and the internet age, which really changed things for you with MUFON. How did MUFON have to change in order to stay with the times in the way UFOs were reported?
Well, at the time that I came onto MUFON and started getting involved on the board, I was adamant that MUFON develop a computerized database of UFO reports. And when Walt Andrus was running MUFON out of Seguin, God bless him, UFO reports were made on hard copy. They had pretty extensive UFO reporting forms, but they were filled out hard copy, and they were sent to Seguin, and they were filed hard copy in filed cabinets. And in the 90s, MUFON began the process of developing a computerized database, and it has, over the years, it had zigged and zagged, and for a large part, at times, it was volunteer. We have a person working as a volunteer and creating and sustaining the database. And then volunteers can quit, so you have some ups and downs with that. But over time, we have evolved into a pretty solid program and a database that I'm very proud of. We have over 90,000 entries into it.
Tom, I'm going to get you to stay put right here because we are going to get more into MUFON, the good, the bad, and the not so good coming up, because we got to clear some news here. Tom's willing to do that. We're also going to get into MJ-12 later on in the show, which I'm actually very excited about because that's just an intriguing topic. And Tom is one of the leading researchers on that project. Well, so all of you need to sit tight. We will get to your questions in hour number 2 if you're in one of the chat rooms or on Twitter at #SpacedOutRadio. Our guest tonight on the Mighty SOR, Tom Whitmore. He is one of the directors and treasurer for MUFON, the national board, not a state director. We got one of the national board members here tonight, and we're going to get to it. More Spaced Out Radio, talking MUFON right after this.
You're listening to Spaced Out Radio Live with Dave Scott on the Deep Talk Radio Network.
A timepiece is a reflection of who you are, and what better way to show off the real you than with an Escape watch? Escape is a lifestyle brand accessorizing your days and nights. Choose to escape and create the life of discovery that you deserve. Dream, play, unite with your own personalized Escape watch. Head to escapewatches.com. There is no time like the present to enjoy your escape. Use promo code SMF2017 for your 20% discount today.
We're bringing scientific thought to the paranormal. Hi there, this is Spaced Out Radio scientist Chris Cogswell. Join me, Chris Zuger, and Dave Scott the second Wednesday of every month, where we break down the who from the woo when it comes to everything paranormal. We'll investigate and try to bring sensible answers to those straight and sometimes outlandish questions people have. Hey, not everything has an answer, but we'll do our best. Listen in to Reality Paranormal only on Spaced Out Radio.
So, you love talk radio? Then you'll love TalkStreamLive.com. TalkStream Live is always on, 24/7, with the best streaming talk shows. Find your favorite talkers and discover some new ones. It's free, readily available online or on mobile with any smartphone or tablet. Finding your favorite talk shows all in one place has gotten a whole lot easier. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com. Be sure to download the free apps from Google Play or the iTunes App Store.
Visit purpleplates.com today. For over 40 years, the Purple Energy Plates have been delivering amazing results for their many customers. Inspired by the great genius Nikola Tesla, the harmony, healing, and energetic effects of the plates have proven over and over to be beneficial and often miraculous to thousands of customers. Check their site for daily specials and choose from their many energy products. You won't be sorry. Visit them today at purpleplates.com.
You know, it's hard being the bad man of ufology, but that's just the way that I like it. This is Chris George Zuger, and I'll be hanging out with Dave Scott and SOR scientist Chris Cogswell for Reality Paranormal, the second Wednesday of every month. And our job is to break it down and come to conclusions as to what is really going on in the supernatural world. I'd love for you to join us right here on Spaced Out Radio.
Are you tired of being blocked, shadow banned, or placed in jail for simply posting your thoughts on social media? Social Media Freedom can take care of that for you. Social Media Freedom is the newest and one of the best free new apps that allows you the freedom to post what you want, when you want. It takes seconds to download from your app store. Come join the tribe at Social Media Freedom. It's time to set yourself free.
Coming soon to our website, spacedoutradio.com, is the SOR Space Travelers Club. For just $5 a month, you can get into a private area on our site where you can hang with other listeners in our chat room, post in our forum, and check out a bunch of exclusive content and store that won't be found anywhere else, including a nightly after-show party with Dave. It's going to be the best $5 a month you're going to spend. The SOR Space Travelers, only at spacedoutradio.com.
Hello, this is your guitar man, Ron Bumblefoot Thal, and I have to tell you, I love the response I get for Little Brother is Watching from Spaced Out Radio fans. It's amazing how music can inspire and make people think deeper about what's going on in the supernatural world. You can head over to my website, bumblefoot.com, to check out my music, my guitar workshops, my touring, even check out some of the hot sauces that I'm working on. And make sure you keep on listening, because with Spaced Out Radio, you know Little Brother is watching.
Looking for a place to advertise at a very reasonable cost? Look no further than Spaced Out Radio. SpacedOutRadio.com has an advertising tab that you can click to check out our daily, weekly, and monthly packages to play on the radio, or our website including social media. From commercial spots to banners, we have it all. Check out our competitive pricing today.
Hi there, this is Geraldine Orozco from San Francisco's Bay Area Meditation. I invite you to join me the first Tuesday of every month with Dave Scott for Spaced Out Radio's The Spiritual You. In this fast-paced world we live in, it's time for you to take some time for you. We'll cover every possible subject, from powerful meditation to healing techniques to your own intuition and spirituality. So come join us for The Spiritual You.
Heading to Vancouver and looking for a night on the town? The Moose Vancouver is the bar that never stops rocking until 2 a.m. every night. The Moose has great food with everything on the menu from $6.95 to $8.95. Fantastic, vibrant staff and rock and roll that will bring you back to when the music was real, the hair was long, and the guitars were rocking. Get your party on at the Moose Vancouver, the official party bar of Spaced Out Radio.
Did you know Spaced Out Radio runs 7 days a week? Hi there, this is Tessa Nicole Thomas, and I'm here to take you on a paranormal journey each Saturday and Sunday night. Why change the station when you have it all right here? Together, we'll hang out and share some strange and scary stories. And don't forget, we have Psychic Sundays as well, so come tune in Spaced Out Weekend. We get going at 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern, only at spacedoutradio.com, where we own the night.
You hear footsteps in the empty room above you. A rocking chair begins rocking by itself. Don't be afraid of the things that go bump in the night. Reach for Spirit Storybox, the iPhone app the Huffington Post UK called the only ghost hunting app you will ever need. Spirit Storybox. The spirits are telling their stories. Are you listening?
Are you intrigued by Paranormal Talk Radio? You'll love the new Paranormal Radio app from TalkStream Live. You'll find a great selection of talk shows covering UFOs, ghosts, strange phenomena, and much more. Download the Paranormal Radio app now and start listening to the very best in paranormal talk entertainment, including the network you're listening to right now, the Paranormal Radio app, free in Google Play and the iOS App Store.
Welcome back to the second half hour of Spaced Out Radio tonight. I am your host, Dave Scott, live in SOR headquarters here in the Great White North. Not too cold, actually above zero today. I'm pretty happy about that. Tonight we are talking with Tom Whitmore down in San Antonio, Texas. He is one of the board directors of MUFON in the United States. And Tom, thank you so much for being with us tonight. How are you?
Well, thank you very much. Thanks for having me on. It's great to be here.
It's absolute pleasure. Absolute pleasure. The last 10 years, Tom, have been at points a publicity nightmare for MUFON in regards to the Carpenter affair, Bob Bigelow buying in, and cases like that, John Ventry getting together with two of the stars without announcing it to the public or on media shows like this one and others. Yet there's a lot of good work happening with MUFON, with boots on the ground and people who are involved. You have an incredibly, from what I've seen, you have an incredible amount of good people working with you. How do you balance keeping those good people along with trying to repair what some people would feel is a damaged reputation?
Yeah. Well, here's how I see it, Dave. The UFO field is, and I've said this before to others, but it's a very difficult field. And UFO field, it's extremely controversial to begin with. Secondly, emotions run very high. And thirdly, at times, it can be just downright crazy. We at MUFON, in the MUFON leadership and the board, we focus very much on longevity. And I see my function as a director and other people on the board of directors, we see our function as ensuring the long-term viability of the organization, of MUFON, as well as its financial viability. Things do happen, and sometimes things don't always go according to plan. And at times, situations are presented to us in which we may be dealing with a type of a situation for the first time. I can assure you, Dave, that everyone on this board, and almost everyone I know of at the MUFON leadership level, is well-intentioned. We have the best of intentions, those being that we're there because we care about the UFO field and we care about making progress. We care about increasing our knowledge and understanding of the UFO phenomenon. I see it as a long-term effort, and it requires, in my opinion, certain qualities to address this phenomenon. Like I said, I think you have to have a long-term view and attitude, and it requires a tolerance for ambiguity. This is not a field where you can expect to get quick answers, but we do have opportunities and problems along the way.
I understand that, but at times have people on the MUFON board of directors maybe panicked over this and given information that maybe has added fuel to the fire. I'll give you an example here. And this was the one that really scratched my head. When it came out again earlier this year, I'm still kind of new to this field. I've only been doing this for about 4.25 years on this show. And I'll be honest with you, previous to this 4.25 years, I'd never even heard of MUFON. Because I liked my happily boring life, Tom. I really enjoyed it. Sure. Probably would go back if I had that opportunity if the damn aliens didn't show up. But nonetheless, Roger Marsh, your PR person, sends one of my listeners a letter because I had brought up the fact about Bob Bigelow and the Carpenter affair. And one of my listeners, Gail, who now runs our news at source called the SOR Newswire, sends in this letter to info@mufon.com. This happened on January 14th of last year. So literally almost the 1-year anniversary of this. She says, I have been hearing frequently lately that MUFON files containing UFO reports were bought by Robert Bigelow. I have not located what I consider a reputable source that states simply yes or no. Would you please answer this? Many of my friends and I in the UFO community would like to know. Thank you very much, Gail. Roger responds with this. Gail, no, the MUFON files have never been sold to anyone, including Mr. Bigelow. That is highly untrue. Highly untrue, and this is someone who is high up in your organization, because a press person is. So when you have people, Tom, who are giving false testimony by not even admitting what is true, even if it is 10 years later, that's where people start scratching their head and saying, I thought MUFON was different. I thought they had changed.
Now, you're saying that when Roger Marsh responded that MUFON had not sold files to Bigelow, you're saying that that's not true?
Absolutely, it's not.
Well, okay. Dave, let me explain as best I can.
Sure.
When I got involved in MUFON, with MUFON leadership in the early 90s, Mr. Bigelow was coming onto the scene.
Yes.
And he was a millionaire, multimillionaire, billionaire, whatever. And he had an interest in UFOs and in paranormal phenomena. He noticed at the time there were 3 main UFO groups. There was MUFON, there was TUFOS, the Center for UFO Studies from Dr. Hynek, and there was the Fund for UFO Research. Now, the UFO field has been notorious historically for the UFO groups not cooperating with each other and backbiting and backstabbing. And the UFO community, to me, is like a political party in exile.
Yes, sir.
And we've been in the wilderness since after World War II. So Mr. Bigelow began to get involved, and he talked to all 3 groups, and he told us, and I was not directly involved in that, but he told each group that he wanted us all to cooperate, and they formed what's now known as the UFO Coalition. He actually provided fax machines. He provided a fax machine to Walt Andrus, for example. And he wanted the UFO groups to help him in his endeavor to research topics that he was interested in. And he was not only interested in UFOs, he was interested in crop circles, and he was interested in cattle mutilations, and I know he was probably into some other things. He got the so-called UFO coalition together and explained what he was interested in doing. And at the time, and as I mentioned earlier, a lot of these folks were very, very conservative, and they did not want to get into cattle mutilations.
Right.
At that time, it seemed that there wasn't a direct connection between cattle mutilations and UFOs. Now I think that people just generally assume that there is, even though I can't definitively say that there is, but that seems to be the common notion now. So Mr. Bigelow, instead of really working with a coalition at that time, what he did was he funded individual researchers to do research in areas that he was interested in, and certain researchers needed funding to carry out their own research and projects. Now, I can tell you personally that one of those was Linda Howe. And back in the 90s, when I was a state section director in San Antonio, I got a call from Linda Howe about a deer mutilation that occurred up in Universal City. And the point of the story in this is that Mr. Bigelow was funding her field research into animal mutilations, and that's one example of what I mean. Now, I think you were questioning Chase Kletzky about the John Carpenter files.
Right.
And Chase was on her show, and bless her heart, she tried to answer it as best she could. But let me explain what I understand about the John Carpenter situation.
Sure.
John Carpenter at the time was participating in MUFON, and I believe I didn't actually go back and verify this in my records, but I believe at the time he had the title of Director of Abduction Research or something like that. John Carpenter had his own personal files, and for his own personal reasons, he approached Mr. Bigelow and offered his files to Mr. Bigelow at some other cost or dollar value, I don't even know. But what I've been told is that I believe that Mr. Bigelow wrote him a check, but the actual transaction never took place. In other words, the files weren't even transferred. Or it's possible that nothing occurred. But I know that John Carpenter, for personal reasons, wanted to sell his personal files to Mr. Bigelow. Okay? Those were not MUFON files. So MUFON, even though John Carpenter had a MUFON title, he had some files. I got some personal files, and someday I'll donate them to MUFON. I'm not going to sell them to Mr. Bigelow. But, it was that kind of situation. Does that help?
Well, I think it does, but I think anybody who is playing around with people's personal files and personal information that people are deeming as confidential when they send it to MUFON, because it says that right on your website, that all information is confidential, will not go to a third party, I think that's a little dangerous and not only against the rules, but illegal.
Well, in terms of MUFON's policies and handling of personal identifiable information, yes, very much so. But what we're trying to explain is that those were files that John Carpenter kept for his personal account. MUFON did not have any control over that.
But did John not get those files from MUFON people who filed reports with MUFON because he was associated with you?
I'm not able to answer that definitively, but I know that I have done some checking into cases on my own account, and this is many, many years ago, and I think that is probably what he was doing. What I'm trying to explain, Dave, is that MUFON did not have control of those files.
Why would MUFON not have control of those files if they were MUFON cases?
Well, I don't know if they were MUFON cases. what I'm trying to explain is that those were cases that he had handled on his own account.
Chase Klutsky, when she was on this show, admitted that when I read her that letter that Gail had sent me, that everybody in MUFON knew that Bigelow had bought in. So why Roger was denying that, she doesn't know in the first place, because it does look a little brash and a little ignorant.
Well, I have to say that it's probably, I would describe it as a gray area in that respect. But MUFON, to my knowledge, has never sold any files to Mr. Bigelow.
What about To the Stars?
To the Stars? What about it?
Well, you guys are now working together. That was very quietly announced on Coast to Coast AM earlier this year when George Knapp had Jan Harzan and Luis Elizondo on the show, and about an hour and a half into that program announced that MUFON and To the Stars Academy were actually working together.
Well, okay, and let me tell you what I know about that, okay?
Sure.
When To the Stars came on the scene, MUFON, and when I say MUFON, I'm mainly referring to Jan Harzan, we were just as curious as everyone else in the U.S. UFO community as to what To the Stars was all about. In other words, what were they really up to? Inquiring minds want to know. Jan Harzan made attempts on his own initiative to find out more about TTSA. And he actually went down to San Diego and met Tom DeLonge and the people there at Tom DeLonge's office. And in an attempt to learn more, Jan got in touch with Hal Puthoff. Now, we need to realize that Hal Puthoff has been on the periphery of the UFO field at least since the time that I was getting involved in it. In fact, an associate of Hal Puthoff way back in the 90s died suddenly, and I actually went to the funeral, and Hal Puthoff was one of the pallbearers.
Right.
And there has been a long time relationship between not just Jan Harzan, but other people in MUFON with Hal Puthoff. So Jan called Hal Puthoff and at some point in this made a connection with Luis Elizondo. Now, Jan had several conversations with Luis Elizondo, and Luis Elizondo was interested in interacting with MUFON and perhaps other elements of the UFO community. I can't really speak for him because I don't know what else he's been up to. I know he's been on some YouTube interviews and so on and so forth. So Luis Elizondo was willing to have a relationship with Jan, and he very courteously, he actually, we had a board meeting, and Luis Elizondo attended our dinner, and he actually attended our board meeting and gave a presentation. I can tell you definitively from that presentation that he didn't tell us much, if anything more than he's already told the public. Okay? And I just want to let you know and let everyone out there know that I think everyone in the UFO community is very curious about TTSA, would like to know more about what they're doing. I don't think they're communicating with some groups in the UFO community very much.
They're not communicating very well. I can tell you right now, I am waiting over 1 year with To the Stars Academy for a media interview request with anybody on the board. Anybody. For 1 year. 1 year. Right. We're a pretty big show, Tom. We reach a lot of people. And I'll tell you, as a former media guy, it's easy to see what they're doing. And this is why a lot of people out there, my friend, and I say this with all due respect to MUFON, because I do like what you guys do. I may not like some of the things that I have heard, and I know I'm pressing on questions, my friend, but I like what you guys do. I think you guys have it in your heart and soul to try and do it properly. But tagging up with a bunch of spooks, which is what they are, who are controlling a media narrative, which is what they've done, and we can't deny that, because you can't argue that, and I'll say this to anybody. You can't argue that point with me because I am a journalist. I know how the media works. It looks a little shady, my friend, when you see a group like you who is trying to do things nonprofit, trying to do things the right way, all of a sudden tagging up with a private entity filled with top secret spooks who are not telling the public the entire story of what they know, contrary to what Tom DeLonge stated in the October 11th press conference when he announced it to the Stars Academy online, but failed to tell the people that there was not a single journalist in front of them at that point. My friend, I hate to do this. I do want to let you answer. We're going to get to that answer right after this. Sometimes I hate these damn breaks. I really do, because I feel almost, Tom, I almost feel guilty for getting the last word on that one, and I apologize to you for that. I just looked at my clocks starting to blink here that it's time to go to a break, and I want to just say that I wasn't doing that on purpose to try and get the last word in here to look like the big shot. I will promise you could take as much time in the next half hour to answer that question in regards to it, because I like to be fair, and the public deserves fairness, and you deserve fairness. Tom Whitmore is our guest tonight on Spaced Out Radio. He is part of the MUFON Board of Directors. And we will be back with hour number 2 of Spaced Out Radio right after this.
Every night on Spaced Out Radio, we have places for you to hang out. Hi, this is Carl. Join our SOR Space Travelers group on Facebook for live chat. On Twitter, using hashtag Spaced Out Radio, you can also join us in our Spreaker chat room. Check us out on Instagram at Dave Scott SOR. All of our archives are free on YouTube at Spaced Out Radio. By the way, I'll be watching you at your window until you do. Bye!
Looking for the stories of the strange and weird that you will find hard to find anywhere else? Check out the SOR Newswire on our website. Our writers, led by Captain Shirk, are scouring the world for the oddest and most bizarre stories we can find. Everything from weird crime to suspenseful and paranormal. We're working hard for you to bring you the most intriguing news of your day. Check out the SOR Newswire at spacedoutradio.com today.
You're listening to Spaced Out Radio Live with Dave Scott on the Deep Talk Radio Network.
Hey, this is Canadian Paranormal Investigator Mike Moore. The third Wednesday of every month, I'll be teaming up with Dave Scott to bring you Ghosts of the Great White North. Each month, we will bring on guests from across Canada to discuss their ghostly encounters. Canada is a paranormal hotbed with stories you've never heard, so we're going to bring them to you. So get comfy on your Chesterfield, grab a donut, and join us, eh?
You hear footsteps in the empty room above you. A rocking chair begins rocking by itself. Don't be afraid of the things that go bump in the night. Reach for Spirit Storybox, the iPhone app the Huffington Post UK called the only ghost hunting app you will ever need. Spirit Storybox. The spirits are telling their stories. Are you listening?
You know, it's hard being the bad man of ufology, but that's just the way that I like it. This is Chris George Zuger, and I'll be hanging out with Dave Scott and SOR scientist Chris Cogswell for Reality Paranormal, the second Wednesday of every month. And our job is to break it down and come to conclusions as to what is really going on in the supernatural world. I'd love for you to join us right here on Spaced Out Radio.
Find your escape where time has no limits. It's about living today and cherishing the heritage of yesterday. A spirit of adventure for what is new with the nostalgia of the past. Your timepiece is a reflection of who you are. Life surrounded by beauty from the world around us to the soul within. EscapeWatches.com. There is no time like the present to enjoy your escape. Use promo code SMF2017 for your 20% discount today.
So, you love talk radio? Then you'll love TalkStreamLive.com. TalkStream Live is always on, 24/7 with the best streaming talk shows. Find your favorite talkers and discover some new ones. It's free, readily available online or on mobile with any smartphone or tablet. Finding your favorite talk shows all in one place has gotten a whole lot easier. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com. Be sure to download the free apps from Google Play or the iTunes App Store.
Get your horns up with me on Spaced Out Radio. This is Ron Bumblefoot Thal. Come tune in to SOR where you can hear me rock out with Little Brother Is Watching, the official theme song of Spaced Out Radio. And then come on over to bumblefoot.com where you can find out about my tour schedule, my music, and everything else. Bumblefoot.com keeps you up to date on what I'm doing and the best way to stay in touch with my music and music camps. Sign up for my newsletter at bumblefoot.com and remember, Little Brother Is Watching.
Looking for a place to advertise at a very reasonable cost? Look no further than Spaced Out Radio. SpacedOutRadio.com has an advertising tab that you can click to check out our daily, weekly, and monthly packages to play on the radio, or our website including social media. From commercial spots to banners, we have it all. Check out our competitive pricing today.
Visit purpleplates.com today. For over 40 years, the Purple Energy Plates have been delivering amazing results for their many customers. Inspired by the great genius Nikola Tesla, the harmony, healing, and energetic effects of the plates have proven over and over to be beneficial and often miraculous to thousands of customers. Check their site for daily specials and choose from their many energy products. You won't be sorry. Visit them today at purpleplates.com.
The Call of the Wild is in Vancouver. The Moose Vancouver is one of the hottest bars and restaurants in the city. Open until 2 a.m. nightly, the Moose will rock you like a hurricane all night long. Great food with everything on the menu at $6.95 near the corner of Nelson and Granville. Get your horns up and come rock with us. The Moose Vancouver, the official rocking bar of Spaced Out Radio.
Do you want to know what's really going on in your world? Do you have questions about who you can trust in the mainstream media? Then look no further than the Rebel Planet. Come get the straight answers right here at spacedoutradio.com. Join me, Jamie Sexton, creator of Rebel Planet News, as I fill you in on the stories behind the stories. All you truth seekers, be sure to tune in to Rebel Planet on spacedoutradio.com the third Thursday of every month.
On the first Tuesday of every month, I encourage you to come along for a journey with me, Geraldine Orozco, on The Spiritual You. Together, we will take a look at how to access the highest expression of yourself and change your life. Consciousness, ET contact, health, and wellness, we can talk about it all. So come along for a spiritual ride with me, Geraldine Orozco, on The Spiritual You, only on Spaced Out Radio.
We are getting ready to relaunch the SOR Space Travelers Club at spacedoutradio.com. For $5 a month, you can join us for a plethora of features found nowhere else. Hang out in a private chat room during the show and after party. You can check out some exclusive content and a store specifically for you, as well as a private listener forum where you can post your thoughts, stories, and pictures. The SOR Space Travelers Club, coming soon to spacedoutradio.com.
The freedom to post what you want, when you want. That's the social media freedom you need. Social Media Freedom is the free app in your app store. No need to worry about going to jail or being shadow banned any longer. It's the freedom to say what you feel. The freedom to know Big Brother isn't watching. It's the way social media is supposed to be. Social Media Freedom. It's time to set yourself free. Download from your app store today.
You're listening to Spaced Out Radio with Dave Scott. Follow Dave on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Facebook, Spaced Out Radio Show.
Well, welcome back to hour number 2 of Spaced Out Radio tonight. I am your host, Dave Scott. Thank you so much for being with us. Tomorrow night on the show, John Corner comes in to talk about the CIA's role in the death of JFK. We get going at 9:06 Pacific, 12:06 a.m. Eastern at spacedoutradio.com. Hi to everyone listening in on the SOR Radio Network, Deep Talk Radio, and Revolution Radio. Don't forget, all of our archives are free at youtube.com/spacedoutradio. The only thing I ask for in return is hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you. You can rock out to Bumblefoot. Go right now while you're listening and shop at the Spaced Out Radio store, and you can also read up on Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire. Tonight we are looking inside MUFON. Treasurer of MUFON and on the board of directors is Tom Whitmore. He is our guest tonight. Now, Tom, right before the break, I asked you a pretty pointed question, and I apologize for asking it so close to the break. That really wasn't fair. So I actually want to go on record again saying that I did apologize to you again during the break, because I actually do feel bad about that. And thank you for accepting my apology. But right before the break, I had asked you a very pointed question in regards to the relationship between MUFON and To the Stars, where MUFON is a non-profit company or society, organization, whatever you want to call it, teaming up with a private company that literally is filled with top-of-the-line spooks who've been in those positions for the last 30, 40 years. That's a little bit difficult for people to take in trying to understand the two and the coalition that you now have forged, especially when we had heard on this show from other MUFON people that there really was no point that if To the Stars Academy actually wanted any type of information, they could grab it because all of MUFON's files are right there. And yet here you are, earlier this year, or late last year, pardon me, having it announced on Coast to Coast that you actually have teamed up.
Well, there's interaction. And as I was explaining earlier, Dave, we at MUFON are like everybody else in that we would like to know more about what TTSA is really up to. Now, I want to clarify this. We don't have any kind of contract. We don't have any kind of operating agreement. We have no letter of understanding of agreement with TTSA. When you say that we're teaming up with TTSA, I think what you're referring to is the relationship that Jan Harzan had taken the initiative to develop with Luis Elizondo in the hope that overall we will be able to increase our knowledge and understanding of the UFO field because of this intriguing position that Mr. Elizondo has been in this intelligence gathering and analysis effort, this ATIP program. So there is, you seem to be making it sound like we're in some kind of operating agreement, and that's simply not the case.
Did you listen to the interview with Jan and Luis? Because what you just said sounds completely opposite of what they said.
Well, there was cooperation in that Jan invited Luis Elizondo to speak at the symposium, okay, which he did, and Mr. Elizondo was there. But as far as I know, we have no other no other operating or cooperating agreement with TTSA. Now, I know that Jan is continuing to try to reach out to TTSA and learn more about what they're up to. And that's really what it's all about. It's all, you said yourself, Dave, that you've tried to reach out to TTSA. I know that John Greenwald of the Black Vault had been trying to make contact with them. I don't know if he's ever had any success at it. I know that he was pretty put off that they wouldn't respond to him. It's just that in this instance, Jan Harzan, and largely because of his personality and his interpersonal skills and his tact and his diplomacy, was able to establish contact with Mr. Elizondo. And Mr. Elizondo, I'd like to add, individually has taken the initiative to communicate to the public about his activities with the ATIP program and what they were trying to accomplish. That's all I can tell you. The intent is to learn more.
And I can appreciate that. I very much can. And I will be on the record as saying everything that I have heard personally about Luis Elizondo has been on the up and up. This guy wants to bring it out. There are certain things that he cannot say because he still has top secret type clearance. But we also have to understand, too, that he also worked for a government that previous to him speaking publicly about this had held this subject very quietly since Roswell and San Augustine. And when you are a government person, like the majority of people are on the To the Stars Academy, how can you even try and trust their message when they are still holding that top secret clearance, knowing things that they cannot perceive as going public? So we don't know what to trust, what not to trust, especially when they are trying to control so hardly the narrative of what is actually being put out there towards the media outlets. The beautiful part that they played, and it is well played, I've gone on record as this saying it's been extremely well played, is the fact that they knew the mainstream media, Tom, had dropped the ball on this subject for decades. They wanted nothing to do with the UFO subject until they got caught with their pants down. And that's how To the Stars played this perfectly. They played it incredibly perfectly. Dodge everybody except George Knapp, and God bless him, I'm a fan of George Knapp. Okay? But dodge everybody else. Nobody from To the Stars has gone on John B. Wells, Jimmy Church, Spaced Out Radio, Midnight in the Desert with Dave Schrader, any of the other shows. Nobody. And when you control the narrative, can you see where that's dangerous? And the public says, wow, MUFON and To the Stars, even if there is no agreement, you still have a handshake working together agreement. Jan and Luis mentioned that. Should that not have been made public so that way people knew, even people in your own board?
Well, in the first place, when Jan and Luis Elizondo began communicating, and there was some rapport there, and Elizondo was interested in interacting directly with MUFON in terms of meeting with the MUFON board and speaking at the symposium. When that came about, that was published in the MUFON Journal. And there was an article written either by Jan Harzan or elsewhere about Luis Elizondo, and Chase Kletsky interviewed Luis Elizondo because Chase was in the D.C. area, and Luis is from that part of the world too. So she was able to go over there and interview him, and that was published in the journal. So there may have been some preparatory communications up to that point that myself or maybe some of the other board members weren't aware of at that time. But at the point that it actually became an interaction to the point that Mr. Elizondo was interested in communicating directly with MUFON and speaking at the symposium, we were aware of it. Now,
yeah,
the TTSA board, being who they are, and it's an interesting group for sure. I'm just taking a wait-and-see attitude. I'm not worried so much about trusting the information that they put out. I'm more struck that they seem to have been making promises to put out information, and frankly, I haven't seen a lot.
No, none of us have.
We had that Tic Tac video, the gun camera film, and we had the article in the New York Times and articles in Politico, et cetera, but I haven't seen much since then. And frankly, the only other information that I and other people in MUFON have been getting is what Mr. Luis Elizondo has chosen to communicate. And I can tell you, Dave, and I want everyone out there in radio land to know this. If you go on YouTube and listen to Mr. Elizondo's talks and go on the internet and read any interviews, you will know as much or more than I do, and that the board knows, okay?
Does that not make you uncomfortable, though, as being a part of the board, that there are people above you, whether it's just Jan himself or others, making decisions without the board's knowledge?
Well, the board's function, the board has the responsibility of oversight. And as a nonprofit corporation, as a board member and the other board members, we have a fiduciary responsibility to the organization in that respect. And like I said earlier, it's very important that we ensure the long-term viability of the organization and that we ensure the financial viability of the organization. Now, day to day, I personally, I'm not a micromanager. I'm a big picture guy. There are some board members that are maybe more inclined in their own affairs to be much more hands-on. But Jan Harzan, in my opinion, is such an outstanding individual and has such outstanding qualities that I'm not bothered at all if he takes initiative to be able to interact and communicate with parties that can help us all learn more about the UFO phenomenon.
So that leads me to this question here, because you're a pretty smart guy, Tom. You were CEO of a $220 million financial institution, and you still had to answer to a board of directors, even though you were for-profit, and of course MUFON is non-profit. If you did what Jan was doing by making the sharing information like this without the consultation of your board directors, what would the reaction be back then with your financial institution?
Well, it's of course a totally different situation. And as an executive at that time, I took lots of initiative, I'd like to think, on my own. Now, we had monthly board meetings in my role as an executive in that situation, so the board was informed, on a monthly basis, both on the financials and operating and so on and so forth. Now, this board with MUFON, we meet at least 3 times a year. We meet at the annual symposium. We have a telephone conference about this time of year after we're getting ready to have one this month. And then we meet out in California at headquarters. So we meet 3 times a year. Like I said, you may perceive our relationship with Luis Elizondo as questionable. I don't, because Luis Elizondo is taking initiative on his account as well. And he's doing it because he wants to do it that way. He wants to get the information out to the public on his own initiative. And that's not necessarily, from what I understand, completely 100% in lockstep with TTSA.
No, and I understand that Luis came to you guys probably outside of TTSA to say, hey, what do we have to do to try and bring some sort of unity here? And I think, and let's be honest, unity in any field is a good thing, because as long as the answers come out, that's what's important. We need more answers coming out. The public needs more answers coming out. But at any time, was there any discussion in the MUFON board meetings about the way TTSA was handling things, whether it was from the media point of view or holding back information, videos, or whatever it may be? Because you guys, outside of the STAR team, pride yourself on being very open and accountable to all reports that come in. TTSA does the exact opposite, even though they announced differently when they were first formed.
Well, TTSA is a completely different, it's a completely different animal than MUFON, Dave. I mean,
yes, I understand.
I'll tell you quite frankly, this evening, in waiting to go on your program, I spent a fair amount of time going on the SEC website and reading the TTSA filing there. They are doing what they're doing the way that they want to do it, and I suspect it's largely the way that Tom DeLonge wants to do it. And that's the way it is. I mean, yeah. I'm not.
All right. I'm not sure if any, for some reason, we seem to have lost a little bit of signal there. I had a little bit of a technical snafu happen at that point. I do apologize. We seem to have got it rectified here. One of my programs froze on me. No, it wasn't the CIA, DIA, DOD, or anything like that. It was a computer program snafu on this end. So I apologize to you, Tom, for that. But it looks like we're back up and running, my friend.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I was just explaining that, TTSA is a completely different animal. They're doing things the way that I presume that Tom DeLonge wants it done. And I just have to say that MUFON's not accountable or responsible for the way that TTSA conducts its affairs.
Yeah, and I understand that. Private company, too. I mean, they don't have to go public with everything that they want. But as long as the MUFON organization is tagged along now with them in that statement, my friend, you know that crap runs downhill. And there's a lot of people, whether they're in the UFO community or not, who feel that the TTSA is pulling the wool over their eyes. And when now we have MUFON's name attached to it, how little or how big that relationship is doesn't matter. But the fact that, Jan has gone public with it, that's where a lot of people are kind of throwing their arms up, Tom, and saying, whoa, hold on a second here. How did this happen? Why is this happening? Why are we getting involved with this? Including MUFON members themselves.
Well, I never saw it that way myself. But if you say so, I'll take your word for it if some people are concerned about that. I can only say, like I said before, that the intent is only to learn more about the UFO phenomenon, hopefully through Luis Elizondo, and hopefully, ultimately, whatever TTSA has to disclose.
Okay.
That's the motivation. And we're not in league with TTSA. MUFON is not in league with TTSA. Jan Harzan has been able to establish rapport and communication with Luis Elizondo. That is true. But MUFON has no formal or informal operating agreement with TTSA.
Well, okay. All right. And I can understand that. Why not put out a press release on that? Because right now, you, unfortunately, without sounding like a jerk here, okay, your words are what you're doing, and I believe what you are saying, Tom, but your words are quite different to what Jan said on Coast to Coast months ago.
I'll take that under advisement. I'll take that to the board.
I would be very interested, and I think a lot would help if Roger in the press room were to be having a press release on things like that. So that way the UFO community, which is on edge at the best of times with everything that's going on, all you need to do is compile one press release. Sports teams do it every day. I haven't worked in sports media in 10 years, and I'm still on the Vancouver Canucks media list for mailouts. I still get all the trades announced. It's fantastic. It's fantastic. I feel a little bit a part of that. But, I mean, it's very easy to do that. It's not out of the way. And it would clean up a lot of this mess, Tom, that maybe people are making up or looking into a little too much. And I say that as an offering of an olive branch to help you guys out. If you don't have a press guy doing his job, get rid of him. Right? That's what a media personnel's job is. You know, be in touch with your press. Stay in touch with them. And if that happens, like what we're talking about tonight, send out a press release. Boom, we're all there. Yeah, we all know about it. Not a big deal. And then all of a sudden you guys are clear. Your press guy is not doing a healthy job. I'll call him out on that. And if he wants to argue it, well, we can do that. I don't mind. I've got the facial hair to take it.
Okay. Well, I appreciate your input on that. And like I said, I'll take that under advisement, and I will follow up on that, on your point. Now, like I said, I haven't ever seen it in that light myself. But if there's that perception out in the public or the UFO public, then I think it should be addressed. I agree with you.
And that's a great place to end the bottom of the hour here. We have Tom Whitmore from MUFON on with us. We're going to ask a couple more MUFON questions next, then we're getting into MJ-12. I love MJ-12. It's going to be a lot of fun. We'll be back with more Spaced Out Radio right after this.
You're listening to Spaced Out Radio Live with Dave Scott on the Deep Talk Radio Network.
You know, it's hard being the bad man of ufology, but that's just the way that I like it. This is Chris George Zuger, and I'll be hanging out with Dave Scott and SOR scientist Chris Cogswell for Reality Paranormal, the second Wednesday of every month. And our job is to break it down and come to conclusions as to what is really going on in the supernatural world. I'd love for you to join us right here on Spaced Out Radio.
Visit purpleplates.com today. For over 40 years, the Purple Energy Plates have been delivering amazing results for their many customers. Inspired by the great genius Nikola Tesla, the harmony, healing, and energetic effects of the plates have proven over and over to be beneficial and often miraculous to thousands of customers. Check their site for daily specials and choose from their many energy products. You won't be sorry. Visit them today at purpleplates.com.
Are you intrigued by Paranormal Talk Radio? You'll love the new Paranormal Radio app from TalkStream Live. You'll find a great selection of talk shows covering UFOs, ghosts, strange phenomena, and much more. Download the Paranormal Radio app now and start listening to the very best in paranormal talk entertainment, including the network you're listening to right now, the Paranormal Radio app, free in Google Play and the iOS App Store.
Hi there, this is Geraldine Orozco from San Francisco's Bay Area Meditation. I invite you to join me the first Tuesday of every month with Dave Scott for Spaced Out Radio's The Spiritual You. In this fast-paced world we live in, it's time for you to take some time for you. We'll cover every possible subject from powerful meditation to healing techniques to your own intuition and spirituality. So come join us for The Spiritual You.
Hello, this is your guitar man, Ron Bumblefoot Thal, and I have to tell you, I love the response I get for Little Brother is Watching from Spaced Out Radio fans. It's amazing how music can inspire and make people think deeper about what's going on in the supernatural world. You can head over to my website, bumblefoot.com, to check out my music, my guitar workshops, my touring, even check out some of the hot sauces that I'm working on. And make sure you keep on listening, because with Spaced Out Radio, you know Little Brother is watching.
Looking for a place to advertise at a very reasonable cost? Look no further than Spaced Out Radio. SpacedOutRadio.com has an advertising tab that you can click to check out our daily, weekly, and monthly packages to play on the radio, or our website including social media. From commercial spots to banners, we have it all. Check out our competitive pricing today.
Coming soon to our website, spacedoutradio.com, is the SOR Space Travelers Club. For just $5 a month, you can get into a private area on our site where you can hang with other listeners in our chat room, post in our forum, and check out a bunch of exclusive content and store that won't be found anywhere else, including a nightly after-show party with Dave. It's going to be the best $5 a month you're going to spend. The SOR Space Travelers, only at spacedoutradio.com.
Are you tired of being blocked, shadow banned, or placed in jail for simply posting your thoughts on social media? Social Media Freedom can take care of that for you. Social Media Freedom is the newest and one of the best free new apps that allows you the freedom to post what you want, when you want. It takes seconds to download from your app store. Come join the tribe at Social Media Freedom. It's time to set yourself free.
So, you love talk radio? Then you'll love TalkStreamLive.com. TalkStream Live is always on, 24/7, with the best streaming talk shows. Find your favorite talkers and discover some new ones. It's free, readily available online or on mobile with any smartphone or tablet. Finding your favorite talk shows all in one place has gotten a whole lot easier. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com. Be sure to download the free apps from Google Play or the iTunes App Store.
A timepiece is a reflection of who you are, and what better way to show off the real you than with an Escape watch? Escape is a lifestyle brand accessorizing your days and nights. Choose to escape and create the life of discovery that you deserve. Dream, play, unite with your own personalized Escape watch. Head to escapewatches.com. There is no time like the present to enjoy your escape. Use promo code SMF2017 for your 20% discount today.
We're bringing scientific thought to the paranormal. Hi there, this is Spaced Out Radio scientist Chris Cogswell. Join me, Chris Zuger, and Dave Scott the second Wednesday of every month, where we break down the who from the woo when it comes to everything paranormal. We'll investigate and try to bring sensible answers to those straight and sometimes outlandish questions people have. Hey, not everything is an answer, but we'll do our best. Listen in to Reality Paranormal only on Spaced Out Radio.
Did you know Spaced Out Radio runs 7 days a week? Hi there, this is Tessa Nicole Thomas, and I'm here to take you on a paranormal journey each Saturday and Sunday night. Why change the station when you have it all right here? Together, we'll hang out and share some strange and scary stories. And don't forget, we have Psychic Sundays as well, so come tune in Spaced Out Weekend. We get going at 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern, only at spacedoutradio.com, where we own the night.
You hear footsteps in the empty room above you. A rocking chair begins rocking by itself. Don't be afraid of the things that go bump in the night. Reach for Spirit Storybox, the iPhone app the Huffington Post UK called the only ghost hunting app you will ever need. Spirit Storybox. The spirits are telling their stories. Are you listening?
Heading to Vancouver and looking for a night on the town? The Moose Vancouver is the bar that never stops rocking until 2 a.m. every night. The Moose has great food with everything on the menu from $6.95 to $8.95. Fantastic, vibrant staff and rock and roll that will bring you back to when the music was real, the hair was long, and the guitars were rocking. Get your party on at the Moose Vancouver, the official party bar of Spaced Out Radio. Welcome back to Spaced Out Radio tonight as we start the second part of the show. Apologize for the little technical snafu that we had there for about a minute or two where we lost air. We seem to have a situation there where one of our programs actually just froze, so I had to reboot it quickly. Reboot it! That's what I did. We are talking tonight with MUFON director Tom Whitmore tonight, and we're only going to spend a couple more minutes talking MUFON because I really want to get into Majestic 12 or MJ-12 with him. And what Tom told me during the break is that he's going to be retiring from his job very soon, and he's going to be going hard on bringing out the history of MJ-12, which is really, really intriguing. If you don't know what it is, we will get to it momentarily. Tom, welcome back to the show.
Thanks, Dad. Thanks, Dave. I'm glad to be here.
I want to ask you, Tom, and this is, we'll put the To the Stars Academy stuff to the side here for a moment. And I realize that, there are certain subjects that are very, very difficult to speak about, especially with MUFON, because it doesn't matter what business you're in. Every business has its secrets as to why things happen or fall apart. But Chris Cogswell, who used to be a scientist for you guys, he is a good friend of this show. We call him the resident Spaced Out Radio scientist. He and a few others actually quit because of the relationship between John Ventry and MUFON. Now, John Ventry has been a longtime MUFON member. He's out of Pennsylvania, and a lot of people thought that after his very public racial comments that MUFON had parted ways until it was discovered last summer when Chris quit that indirectly John was still helping set up MUFON conferences on the East Coast. How is this still happening? How is John still around after the racial overtones on his Facebook page?
Okay. John Ventry is, okay, let me restate this. John Ventry, as you said, has been a MUFON participant. And after this very unfortunate incident of his Facebook posting, he was removed as state director. Now, at the same time, John Ventry, along with a lot of other people in MUFON, is a benefactor. In that relationship, the agreement as a benefactor is that by donating a certain amount of money, one is entitled to MUFON journals for the rest of their life. And I'm a benefactor myself, so I think that we need to understand that there may be practical considerations involved in trying to fulfill certain people's demands that we cut absolutely all ties with John Ventry. Now, John Ventry, and I don't mean to speak ill of the man, I want to be fair and reasonable in this, but John Ventry at this point is simply a volunteer. He has no influence on MUFON leadership, and he has no MUFON leadership role. Now, let me say this about the symposium. It's a fact of life that when we put on a symposium, we have to commit to the hotel 18 months in advance.
Yes.
And in doing so, if we had this symposium in New Jersey, and at the time that the symposium was conceived, which I believe was before this unfortunate incident with Mr. Ventry, that John Ventry was involved in helping, in assisting in producing the symposium. So this is 18 months in advance. After these developments arose, we could not back out of that location without suffering a very heavy financial penalty in our contract with the hotel. Okay? And so we were committed to doing the symposium at that location, which was John Ventry's territory. And he wanted to be of assistance, but he actually apparently had some kind of a medical problem at the time of the symposium. And that's how things worked out. So the long and the short of it is that Ventry originally was attempting to assist with the symposium. We had a commitment to that location that we really could not back out of, and it ended up with a situation where Ventry had some involvement in that.
Yeah. And I can understand that, and I appreciate you clearing that up. But you mentioned that he still has the ability to volunteer. Why would that be allowed?
Well, let me. I'm going to think aloud here, and maybe this is something that people haven't considered. Maybe not. But how far would we go with that? If he wanted to attend a local meeting, would you not let him in? Or if he wanted to attend a local meeting, would you hire security and have him escorted off the property? I mean, how far are you going to go with that? I'm thinking aloud here.
Well, I could counter that, and with all due respect to my comment, I could counter that by saying David Duke said when he ran for president that he was no longer affiliated with the KKK. Yet he was.
Okay. Dave, I have a statement I'd like to read to you, if that's okay.
Sure. I would love it.
Beginning of statement. As a longtime board member of MUFON, I want to take this opportunity to disavow any racist comments made by anyone affiliated with the MUFON organization. MUFON completely and utterly disapproves of any sentiments, attitudes, or behavior that could be construed as racist or offensive to others. MUFON's mission is the scientific study of UFOs for the benefit of humanity, and in this effort, MUFON welcomes people from all backgrounds. MUFON does not discriminate on the basis of race, color, religion, gender expression, age, national origin, disability, marital status, sexual orientation, or military status. End of statement.
No, and I believe you guys, okay? I believe that you guys, did what you possibly can. Does it grind your gears then that Ventry, without purchasing a ticket, is still attending MUFON functions? You personally, Tom, never mind the group. Tom Whitmore personally.
Well, I just want to say that in these affairs of communication and public communication, I just want to remind that we're dealing with human beings here. And I might have my personal preferences of what I'd like to see happen and not happen. But again, how far are we going to go, and what steps are we willing to take, or actually could take, or even legally take, to completely, totally cut all ties with a person? That's a practical issue. That's a practical issue.
Yeah, but the unfortunate.
You could even get. I'm sorry, but you could even be getting into the territory of defaming a person and defamation.
True. I understand that I'm putting you on the spot. And, I also know, too, the precarious position that you guys are in, because you can't say everything. This is one of those situations where I think the public needs to understand that there are things legally you can and cannot say. Therefore, your personal opinion may be, I wish the guy would, go away and go make ice cream somewhere rather than attend UFO conferences, but you can't say that. I can say it because it's my show, and I'm legally bound by that and protected by that in the freedom of speech. But on the flip side, I do understand your position. I do. And I think in listening to your voice and hearing how or anybody listening to how you worded yourself, I think it's very obvious what your position is on that, Tom, because I think you're pretty stand up.
Thank you. Try to be.
Yeah. So,
and again, I just remind people to try to put this in perspective. MUFON has upwards of 4,000 people participating at various levels. Some people are merely subscribers. Some people have gotten the field investigator manual and they passed the field investigator exam. Some people are out in the field investigating cases. Some are state section directors and on up. And we're talking upwards of 4,000 people, and we've had one, maybe two people that have misbehaved in a public manner, which has put MUFON in a very difficult position, actually the middle of all this. So I just like to remind people, let's put this in perspective. We're talking about out of upwards 50 state directors, you're talking about one state director.
Last comment in regards to MUFON tonight, because I do want to get into MJ-12. And unfortunately, with this show in hot button topics like this, we sometimes do run out of time, which means, Tom, that we're going to have to drag you back here for more MJ-12 talk, but we are going to get into it a little bit tonight. I don't want to end the MUFON stuff on a negative, because I think we've gone pretty hard on that. I want to get to some positives here in regards to MUFON, because I do believe there is good work being done. I think the field reporters, the state directors, they're doing really, really good work, hard work. Their hearts are into it for the reasoning, and that is to bring out what is going on up in the skies. Or Rich Giordano's going to kick my butt for that, for saying skies when there's only one sky. But nonetheless, and I deserve that for that. That's bad English. But in regards to MUFON, with all the cases that you guys see annually, do you feel at any point that we are getting anywhere close to solving this mystery of UFOs and or extraterrestrial contact?
In literal terms, in my personal opinion, I don't think so. Now, in terms of public consciousness and what the public believes and wants to believe, I think that there has been a real trend toward people accepting the possibility, even the probability, that we're being visited. and that we're interacting with some form of non-human intelligence on some level. Now, you hear people criticize MUFON, it's not scientific enough, but we are collecting information, and we're collecting a lot of information, and at least we're collecting information, okay? Who else is, really? So it's also a matter of analyzing the information that we've collected, and I think there needs to be a lot more work in that area. Now, whether that will actually get us closer to an answer, I don't know. And I'd like to say that, and I'm speaking for myself, that I see the UFO problem as more as an intelligence gathering and analysis function. And when I say that, I'm not trying to sound like MUFON is an intelligence agency, but rather that the elements and the dynamics of the UFO situation is such that we're really gathering intelligence about it. And in looking in enlarging the frame of the problem, that includes not just field investigation, not just citing reports, but everything that is going on in society, beliefs that people have, even rumors and things that we believe may be going on with the government. So this is all an effort, in my view, of gathering intelligence and analyzing it and trying to come up with the best understanding that we can. Now, like I said before, I believe that the UFO problem requires a long-term perspective, and it requires a tolerance for ambiguity, and it requires patience. I've been in this business long enough to tell you that I don't expect to have definitive answers anytime soon.
Aliens are real, my friend. Aliens are real. I'm going on record with that. Not even I don't even have my tinfoil hat within reach of me, Tom. Don't even have it. But aliens are real. My friend, I want to shift. I want to shift topics here because I really want to get into Majestic 12 with you. This is such a huge program that for so long was considered just a big old conspiracy theory that had a bunch of wannabe ufologists back in the day trying to make something up that the government wasn't covering anything up. Yet here we are, MJ-12. And so much more has happened since then. What intrigues you about Majestic 12?
Well, first of all, I want to say that I want to believe it. I want to believe in MJ-12. And I think it's important that as investigators and as researchers that we admit and understand what it is that we want to believe. And the reason that's so important from my perspective is because when I do see information, I'm able to discount it knowing that I have this interest and this slant and this bias, and I have this will to believe certain things. Like I said, Dave, I grew up in the 50s and 60s, and I'm basically a nuts and bolts E.G. type. And when the ideas are put in front of me, that a sponsor had been recovered, and that one had been recovered, and that the government in great secrecy to study these effects, I want to believe it. Okay? But having said that, I'm not willing to go so far as to say that it's true because I don't know.
Even after everything that has come out over the last year, that they've been doing this for decades since Roswell, you're still not completely sure about this?
Well, in my personal view, I think it's a distinct possibility that it's true. Okay? But at the same time, in terms of the MJ-12 communication and pattern, I see two main possibilities. One is that it could possibly, this whole pattern of MJ-12 type releases of documents and things, which I believe is still going on to this day.
True.
But the first possibility that I see is that it's some kind of psyop. It's some kind of psychological operation.
Interesting.
Mainly on the UFO community, so that we look in a certain direction when they don't want us looking in another direction. I see that as one possibility. The other main possibility I see is that there is a faction within the so-called deep state that basically knows the truth about this, and they want the information to come out. And the way that they're doing it is by producing these documents, which are not totally genuine or authentic. They're bringing it into the public domain through the back door, and it also enables plausible deniability for the perpetrators, and it's done in such a way that you can't trace it back to the origin. And in that way, they're able to introduce ideas into the public mind and the public consciousness with the idea that the public is gradually acclimated to believing these things. Now, the third possibility is that it's just an out-and-out hoax. And I'm not inclined to take that view, and I'll tell you why. This has simply been going on too long. The first MJ-12 documents, I believe, went to Jamie Chandray. I believe it was about 1983. And like I said, I believe that it's the operation is still going on to this day. That's a long time for somebody to be perpetrating just a hoax.
Well, maybe Jan's buddy Luis was working on that after he couldn't get a paycheck after 2012 when the program shut down. I don't know. I'm just throwing stuff out there, Tom. Hey, Tom, I'm going to get you to hold on here, my friend, because we are just seconds away from going to a break at the top of the hour. 2 hours down. We have a half hour to go with Tom Whitmore, director for MUFON. He is their treasurer. This dude's pretty stand-up. I like him. I want to bring him back and talk a little bit more MJ-12 like we're going to do in the next half hour. Let's get deep into it as much as we can because it's going to be a lot of fun. Tom Whitmore, MUFON on Spaced Out Radio. We'll be back with hour number 3 right after this. At spacedoutradio.com, we have a little bit of everything for you to stay up late. So while you're there, check out our SOR Newswire, where our team brings you stories of the weird and strange to the WTF from around the globe. News on Bigfoot, UFOs, paranormal, Darwinian-type crime tales. It's the stories that the mainstream media usually won't touch. Well, we got them all on the SOR Newswire, only at spacedoutradio.com.
Come hang out with Spaced Out Radio, where we own the night. This is Carl. You can follow Dave on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, and during the show, use the hashtag Spaced Out Radio to chat with us live. On Instagram, at Dave Scott SOR. On Facebook, give our page a like, Spaced Out Radio Show. SOR archives are free on YouTube at Spaced Out Radio. Come join us, or I will come join you. See you at your window.
You're listening to Spaced Out Radio Live with Dave Scott on the Deep Talk Radio Network.
Visit purpleplates.com today. For over 40 years, the Purple Energy Plates have been delivering amazing results for their many customers. Inspired by the great genius Nikola Tesla, the harmony, healing, and energetic effects of the plates have proven over and over to be beneficial and often miraculous to thousands of customers. Check their site for daily specials and choose from their many energy products. You won't be sorry. Visit them today at purpleplates.com.
So, you love talk radio? Then you'll love TalkStreamLive.com. TalkStream Live is always on, 24/7 with the best streaming talk shows. Find your favorite talkers and discover some new ones. It's free, readily available online or on mobile with any smartphone or tablet. Finding your favorite talk shows all in one place has gotten a whole lot easier. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com. Be sure to download the free apps from Google Play or the iTunes App Store.
You hear footsteps in the empty room above you. A rocking chair begins rocking by itself. Don't be afraid of the things that go bump in the night. Reach for Spirit Storybox, the iPhone app the Huffington Post UK called the only ghost hunting app you will ever need. Spirit Storybox. The spirits are telling their stories. Are you listening?
The freedom to post what you want, when you want. That's the social media freedom you need. Social Media Freedom is the free app in your app store. No need to worry about going to jail or being shadow banned any longer. It's the freedom to say what you feel. The freedom to know Big Brother isn't watching. It's the way social media is supposed to be. Social Media Freedom. It's time to set yourself free. Download from your app store today.
Find your escape where time has no limits. It's about living today and cherishing the heritage of yesterday. A spirit of adventure for what is new, with the nostalgia of the past. Your timepiece is a reflection of who you are. Life surrounded by beauty from the world around us to the soul within. EscapeWatches.com. There is no time like the present to enjoy your escape. Use promo code SMF2017 for your 20% discount today.
You know, it's hard being the bad man of ufology, but that's just the way that I like it. This is Chris George Zuger, and I'll be hanging out with Dave Scott and SOR scientist Chris Cogswell for Reality Paranormal, the second Wednesday of every month. And our job is to break it down and come to conclusions as to what is really going on in the supernatural world. I'd love for you to join us right here on Spaced Out Radio.
The Call of the Wild is in Vancouver. The Moose Vancouver is one of the hottest bars and restaurants in the city. Open until 2 a.m. nightly, the Moose will rock you like a hurricane all night long. Great food with everything on the menu at $6.95 near the corner of Nelson and Granville. Get your horns up and come rock with us. The Moose Vancouver, the official rocking bar of Spaced Out Radio.
Get your horns up with me on Spaced Out Radio. This is Ron Bumblefoot Thal. Come tune in to SOR where you can hear me rock out with Little Brother is Watching, the official theme song of Spaced Out Radio. And then come on over to bumblefoot.com where you can find out about my tour schedule, my music, and everything else. Bumblefoot.com keeps you up to date on what I'm doing and the best way to stay in touch with my music and music camps. Sign up for my newsletter at bumblefoot.com and remember, Little Brother is Watching.
Hey, this is Canadian Paranormal Investigator Mike Moore. The third Wednesday of every month, I'll be teaming up with Dave Scott to bring you Ghosts of the Great White North. Each month, we will bring on guests from across Canada to discuss their ghostly encounters. Canada is a paranormal hotbed with stories you've never heard, so we're going to bring them to you. So get comfy on your Chesterfield, grab a donut, and join us, eh?
On the first Tuesday of every month, I encourage you to come along for a journey with me, Geraldine Orozco, on The Spiritual You. Together, we will take a look at how to access the highest expression of yourself and change your life. Consciousness, ET contact, health, and wellness, we can talk about it all. So come along for a spiritual ride with me, Geraldine Orozco, on The Spiritual You, only on Spaced Out Radio.
Do you want to know what's really going on in your world? Do you have questions about who you can trust in the mainstream media? Then look no further than the Rebel Planet. Come get the straight answers right here at spacedoutradio.com. Join me, Jamie Sexton, creator of Rebel Planet News, as I fill you in on the stories behind the stories. All you truth seekers, be sure to tune in to Rebel Planet on spacedoutradio.com the third Thursday of every month.
We are getting ready to relaunch the SOR Space Travelers Club at spacedoutradio.com. For $5 a month, you can join us for a plethora of features found nowhere else. Hang out in a private chat room during the show and after party. You can check out some exclusive content and a store specifically for you, as well as a private listener forum where you can post your thoughts, stories, and pictures. The SOR Space Travelers Club, coming soon to spacedoutradio.com.
Looking for a place to advertise at a very reasonable cost? Look no further than Spaced Out Radio. SpacedOutRadio.com has an advertising tab that you can click to check out our daily, weekly, and monthly packages to play on the radio, or our website including social media. From commercial spots to banners, we have it all. Check out our competitive pricing today.
Would you like to connect with us? Head to spacedoutradio.com for all your latest show info. Now, back to Dave Scott and SOR.
Welcome back to the third and final hour of Spaced Out Radio. Tonight, I am your host, Dave Scott. Great to have you with us. Tomorrow night on the show, John Corner is back to talk about the CIA's role in JFK's assassination. We get going at 9:06 Pacific, 12:06 a.m. Eastern at spacedoutradio.com. We welcome back everyone listening in on the SOR Radio Network, Deep Talk Radio, and Revolution Radio. We also say that you can find all our archives for free at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Just do me a favor, hit that subscribe button. Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. It is, let's take a look here, Melanocalcographer. Oh, that is so wrong. Melanocalcographer is your password. Make sure you use it wisely, Space Travelers, as the Clam sets the password each and every night right here on the mighty SOR. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you. You can rock out to Bumblefoot soon. Actually, now you can shop at our store. Not soon anymore, but now you can. Good swag on there. Go get some. And, of course, read up on our SOR Newswire and much more. For the final time tonight, we introduce MUFON Director Tom Whitmore. Earlier in the show, we were talking about MUFON. We've shifted directions here because Tom's real big passion is investigating the iconic story, and it's a little bit of a conspiracy about MJ-12, otherwise known as Majestic 12, which was allegedly formed by President Eisenhower in 1947. Tom, we welcome you back.
Thank you, Dave. Glad to be here.
Looking at this project historically, do you believe that it was started? We do know, outside of MJ-12, Tom, that there are groups out there, and this has been confirmed by Luis Elizondo and the media as well, that there has been UFO research for decades ever since the Roswell incident. So does that make it a little bit more confirming for you that MJ-12 actually existed?
Well, Dave, I think the most important word in ufology is if. I-F. If a saucer crashed in Roswell in 1947, and if saucers crashed from time to time since then there must have been some kind of effort to study it and to store it and to secure the information, most likely under extreme secrecy and security. But that's a big if. And I don't know. I can't say 100% that is the case, even though, given all that we've learned over these years and all that has happened, I think that it is a distinct possibility.
What leads you to that distinct possibility? Are there signs or clues out there that the public should be looking for?
Well, for one thing, if we go back past the time of William Moore and go back a few years into the 70s, we had Leonard Stringfield, who was a UFO researcher, and he had been collecting these crash saucer stories. And he had sources some from Wright-Patterson Air Force Base and some from other places, who were hinting that the government had these materials and possibly bodies on hand and were studying them. And he collected these stories into what he called status reports. And I think there's 4 or 5 of them, Leonard Stringfield status reports. At one point in which he had collected enough information, he was ready to present it to the public, and he presented it at a MUFON symposium. I need to go back and check my records, but I believe that it was around 1978, 79, 80, somewhere in there. And when he did that, I believe that he was being coached, that he was being told by someone, apparently in the so-called deep state, that they wanted this information out as a test of public reaction.
Why do you think the government wanted to gauge the public reaction towards UFOs?
I think it's more than just gauging the public reaction to UFOs. It's gauging the public's reaction to the possibility that it really is real, that it's really physically real, and that there are non-human entities involved. And by implication, they're likely extraterrestrial or possibly interdimensional or whatever. Who knows, really? And if the public really knows that it's true, that it's really, really true, that's going to have a huge impact on the public psyche. And I think that those in the know, and again, it's a big if it's true, that I think they must have felt that they had to be very, very careful if they were going to present this information to the public.
That always comes to a question on this show, and it's kind of generalized, but I'll ask you in this. Do you think then, knowing what you have learned with MJ-12 and with your time at MUFON, that the public is ready for any type of disclosure?
I think that the public is much, much more ready now than it was. And I remarked on this earlier in our time tonight, Dave, but there has been a very large shift in public perception. And a few years back, I was very pleasantly surprised. I was at the Ozark UFO conference one year, and I had a conversation with Dr. Rudy Schild of Harvard. And that told me then, at that time, that there were scientists that were beginning to take an interest in this. Not that they hadn't already. There were probably some that had been doing that for a while, had been involved for a while. But it told me that this was a change. And I think that there has been a very large change in public acceptance of this reality. And I'll tell you a personal story. Being in business, business is conservative, and I learned a long time ago that if I told someone that I didn't know well and didn't know what their attitudes were, that if I told them that I was in the UFO field, I had a 50-50 chance of them thinking that I was goofy. Okay, so in being in business, I kept it to myself and I've been discreet. Well, in the company, with my employer now, I have to disclose if I serve on a board. And I did disclose that in the documentation with the company. And at one point, my boss came up to me and hinted that they'd like to know more about it. And I admitted, I confessed, and the reaction was, "Oh, I love ancient astronauts." And the person was very accepting about this. Okay, so I think that's great.
Getting back to MJ-12, a lot of this seemed to come from the Roswell crash. And it's funny, everybody always mentions the Roswell crash. They never seem to mention the San Agustin crash that happened at the identical time. What exactly do you think that they were looking for in regards to trying to figure out the alien contact? Was it about crash retrieval? Was it about ET contact, or just trying to figure out a defense system to keep the aliens away?
Well, there have been a couple of possible explanations for the crash itself, one being the craft were struck by lightning, and believe me, there's a lot of lightning in New Mexico in the summer. And another possible explanation is very powerful radar that somehow affected the guidance system, or maybe even the propulsion system of the craft. They probably, and I'm referring to the Air Force or the Army Air Corps or whatever, I think they were most likely aware that there were UFOs in the area before that. And the backdoor information that's come through some of these MJ-12 documents is that the craft that ended up crashing had actually been tracked on radar before it occurred.
Who is involved with this project?
With
MJ-12.
I'm sorry,
who are the players in it?
In the production of the documents, or in the actual committee?
Well, let's start with the committee.
Well, we do know this, Dave. In the 50s, during the Eisenhower administration, there was a group called the 5412 Committee, and they were their job was to oversee covert operations. I think that there's a possibility that if there was an MJ-12 type group, it might have been embedded in that. And I think we have to hold out the possibility that some of this was done ad hoc. In other words, it was decided, okay, we'll take a person from this agency, the head of that agency, this scientist over here, and this person from this agency over here, and they come together and they have regular meetings. And it might be somewhat amorphous. It may not have been, this kind of more rigid, more firm committee of 12 people that pretty much stayed the same over time, and then maybe people dropped out over time and were replaced.
And what about who was writing the documents?
Well, I have my theory. My personal opinion is that the original documents that came out in the early 80s were most likely, and this is just my opinion, I don't have proof, I don't even have direct evidence other than just trying to put two and two together, but in my opinion, I believe that it's possible that they were created either by Air Force intelligence, by AFOSI, or somewhere within the DIA bureaucracy.
Do you believe, though, that the military at that point, going back to Eisenhower and the committee, thought of UFOs and extraterrestrial contact as some sort of invasion?
I think they had to consider the distinct possibility of that. And the reason is, during the 50s, there were mass sightings of UFOs. In 1947, in June, and certain people have done wonderful research on this. For example, Jan Aldrich has produced a work called Project 1947, where they went back and they checked into how many sightings, how many reports there were, and there was a whole lot going on during that time. So I think that the authorities legitimately had a concern that there could have been some kind of an invasion. Now, I don't think obviously it didn't turn out like that, and maybe the invasion has taken a different form in the form of, abductions and contacts and so on and so forth. But I think if we put ourselves in the position of the people that were responsible for dealing with this issue, I can see how they could be very concerned of the possibility of an invasion at that time.
Yeah, especially a couple of years later when you had that filming of those, 7 to 9 UFOs flying over the White House. I mean, that's information. I mean, that had to put everybody on alert.
Well, I have some personal friends of ours, some elderly lady from Colorado, and this just came up in conversation in her family. But I believe it was in the 60s or the 50s, and she was in Colorado, and there were all these people pulled over by the side of the road, and people were in this classic pose of looking up in the sky and pointing at this craft. And there were, a fairly large number of people pulled over by the side of the road viewing this. These kinds of things were going on.
Quick question from Rick over in the United Kingdom. He's got pretty tight beard on him, too, and we like to acknowledge a good beard around here, Tom. He asks, do you think, Tom, the Cutler twinning memo is a planted forgery like most claim it to be?
Well, it's possible, and we have to remember that the archivist experts wrote a memorandum with about 10 points on it that indicated that there was a real problem with that document. But I am aware, and I think we should also remember, that intelligence agencies have the capability of forging documents. In fact, that's one of the things they do. It's their stock and trade. They forge passports, and they forge other documents as well. So they, on the theory that the document may have originated somewhere within the deep state, they could have had the proper stationery, they could have had the correct typewriter from that age, and they could have forged that memorandum, the Cutler Twining memorandum. But having said that, I'm not willing to go so far as to say that it is definitively fake. I hold out the possibility that it could be authentic.
What do you think, back a few years ago, the United States Air Force Office of Special Investigations claiming that no such committee had ever been authorized or formed, saying that all the documents were actually bogus?
I think that's funny because, you can go on the internet and you can see the images of that, the documents, and they wrote bogus on them all. And they apparently must have done that very quickly. And the question in my mind is, how did they know that they were bogus? Maybe they knew they were bogus because they had something to do with creating them.
And it's easy to deny because back then, everybody took the government, the military, and the media at their word.
Yeah, and, Dave, there has been so much erosion of credibility with the government and with the media over time. And I think we started having a problem during the Vietnam years, and the problem got worse during the Watergate years. And we've gotten to the point now where we have this fake news problem. And between the government not shooting straight with the public about certain things, perhaps one example is the Iraq War and the weapons of mass destruction. Between that and between the media being obviously biased in certain respects, not even trying to hide it, I think there has been a real erosion of credibility.
I think that's the danger part about it, because for so long we have all had that trust in our political figures, our military figures. Do you think that the government, and even to this day, continues to cover up the fact that they are in possession of alien craft and or have made extraterrestrial contact?
Well, again, we get back, excuse me, we get back to the if, if saucer crash and if bodies are covered, then they are almost certainly covering it up and keeping it under the most extreme secrecy. But that's an if, and I simply don't know, and I think we as a public, we just don't know. We have indications, we have suspicions, we have reasons to believe that, but I don't think that we really know yet.
What is the smoking gun that you have found in your research so far that leads you to believe this project existed? It's not really so much a smoking gun, but it's more putting all of the information together. And there is not just a report of a Roswell crash. There were reports of other crashes. There have been instances where persons have been offered films of UFO landings, and where people have been offered information from so-called government insiders. There has been the process that I described of Leonard Stringfield collecting stories and possibly being coached and being used to test public reaction. And there has been the long-term effect and sequence of these types of documents being introduced into the public. You know, we had the Leonard Stringfield stories, and we had the MJ-12, the initial MJ-12 documents, and we had the Timothy Cooper documents, and we had Serpo. And even just last year, or year before last, we had this latest document come out, this ultra top secret. I'm not saying it's authentic, but this is a pattern. And it's that kind of a pattern that tells me that something is going on. And it's either, in my opinion, it's either some kind of a psyop, or it's most likely some kind of an effort to introduce these ideas into the public consciousness. And on that note, we're going to have to wait a few months here before you get to retire from work and concentrate on this full time, because we're going to have to do a full show on this either in late April or sometime in May, Tom. Definitely you're going to have to. I really look forward. Hey, Tom, thanks for being a real good sport tonight, enlightening us with some answers from inside MUFON and with Majestic 12. What an absolute pleasure. If people need to get a hold of you or want more information on MUFON, where can they go?
I have created an email address. You can go to bodquestions@gmail.com. If you would like to ask me questions about MUFON, or if you'd like to provide constructive criticism or constructive suggestions. And that's bodquestions@gmail.com.
Tom Whitmore, appreciate you coming on Spaced Out Radio tonight. Thank you so much. Coming up next, we have Ola Phillips with the SOR Newswire. We'll be back.
You're listening to Spaced Out Radio Live with Dave Scott on the Deep Talk Radio Network.
Hello, this is your guitar man, Ron Bumblefoot Thal, and I have to tell you, I love the response I get for Little Brother is Watching from Spaced Out Radio fans. It's amazing how music can inspire and make people think deeper about what's going on in the supernatural world. You can head over to my website, bumblefoot.com, to check out my music, my guitar workshops, my touring, even check out some of the hot sauces that I'm working on. And make sure you keep on listening, because with Spaced Out Radio, you know little brother is watching.
Visit purpleplates.com today. For over 40 years, the Purple Energy Plates have been delivering amazing results for their many customers. Inspired by the great genius Nikola Tesla, the harmony, healing, and energetic effects of the plates have proven over and over to be beneficial and often miraculous to thousands of customers. Check their site for daily specials and choose from their many energy products. You won't be sorry. Visit them today at purpleplates.com.
A timepiece is a reflection of who you are, and what better way to show off the real you than with an Escape watch. Escape is a lifestyle brand accessorizing your days and nights. Choose to escape and create the life of discovery that you deserve. Dream, play, unite with your own personalized Escape watch. Head to escapewatches.com. There is no time like the present to enjoy your escape. Use promo code SMF2017 for your 20% discount today.
Coming soon to our website, spacedoutradio.com, is the SOR Space Travelers Club. For just $5 a month, you can get into a private area on our site where you can hang with other listeners in our chat room, post in our forum, and check out a bunch of exclusive content and store that won't be found anywhere else, including a nightly after-show party with Dave. It's going to be the best $5 a month you're going to spend. The SOR Space Travelers, only .com.
Hi there, this is Geraldine Orozco from San Francisco's Bay Area Meditation. I invite you to join me the first Tuesday of every month with Dave Scott for Spaced Out Radio's The Spiritual You. In this fast-paced world we live in, it's time for you. We'll cover every possible subject, from powerful meditation to healing techniques to your own intuition and spirituality. So come join us for The Spiritual You.
Looking for a place to advertise at a very reasonable cost? Look no further than Spaced Out Radio. SpacedOutRadio.com has an advertising tab that you can click to check out our daily, weekly, and monthly packages to play on the radio, or our website including social media. From commercial spots to banners, we have it all. Check out our competitive pricing today.
You know, it's hard being the bad man of ufology, but that's just the way that I like it. This is Chris George Zuger, and I'll be hanging out with Dave Scott and SOR scientist Chris Cogswell for Reality Paranormal, the second Wednesday of every month. And our job is to break it down and come to conclusions as to what is really going on in the supernatural world. I'd love for you to join us right here on Spaced Out Radio.
We're bringing scientific thought to the paranormal. Hi there, this is Spaced Out Radio scientist Chris Cogswell. Join me, Chris Zuger, and Dave Scott the second Wednesday of every month, where we break down the who from the woo when it comes to everything paranormal. We'll investigate and try to bring sensible answers to those straight and sometimes outlandish questions people have. Hey, not everything has an answer, but we'll do our best. Listen in to Reality Paranormal only on Spaced Out Radio.
So, you love talk radio? Then you'll love TalkStreamLive.com. TalkStream Live is always on, 24/7, with the best streaming talk shows. Find your favorite talkers and discover some new ones. It's free, readily available online or on mobile with any smartphone or tablet. Finding your favorite talk shows all in one place has gotten a whole lot easier. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com. Be sure to download the free apps from Google Play or the iTunes App Store.
Heading to Vancouver and looking for a night on the town? The Moose Vancouver is the bar that never stops rocking until 2 a.m. every night. The Moose has great food with everything on the menu from $6.95 to $8.95. Fantastic, vibrant staff and rock and roll that will bring you back to when the music was real, the hair was long, and the guitars were rocking. Get your party on at the Moose Vancouver, the official party bar of Spaced Out Radio.
You hear footsteps in the empty room above you. A rocking chair begins rocking by itself. Don't be afraid of the things that go bump in the night. Reach for Spirit's story box. The iPhone app the Huffington Post UK called the only ghost hunting app you will ever need. Spirit Storybox. The spirits are telling their stories. Are you listening?
Did you know Spaced Out Radio runs 7 days a week? Hi there, this is Tessa Nicole Thomas, and I'm here to take you on a paranormal journey each Saturday and Sunday night. Why change the station when you have it all right here? Together, we'll hang out and share some strange and scary stories. And don't forget, we have Psychic Sundays as well, so come tune in Spaced Out Weekend. We get going at 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern, only at spacedoutradio.com, where we own the night.
Are you tired of being blocked, shadow banned, or placed in jail for simply posting your thoughts on social media? Social Media Freedom can take care of that for you. Social Media Freedom is the newest and one of the best free new apps that allows you the freedom to post what you want, when you want. It takes seconds to download from your app store. Come join the tribe at Social Media Freedom. It's time to set yourself free.
Are you intrigued by Paranormal Talk Radio? You'll love the new Paranormal Radio app from TalkStream Live. You'll find a great selection of talk shows covering UFOs, ghosts, strange phenomena, and much more. Download the Paranormal Radio app now and start listening to the very best in paranormal talk entertainment, including the network you're listening to right now, the Paranormal Radio app, free in Google Play and the iOS App Store.
We've rounded third. We are heading for home tonight on Spaced Out Radio as we bring you the SOR Newswire from Olaf Phillips, the man, the myth, the editing legend of Paranoia Magazine. The news is always changing, which is why we bring you the SOR Newswire at the back end of each and every show, where we bring you the weird, the wacky, the WTF in the news of the night. Mr. Olaf Phillips, welcome back to the show.
Greetings and salutations.
It has been a good day, very good day. And I've been going literally since about 7 o'clock this morning, and I can tell you, man, I could probably go another couple of hours. Not doing overtime tonight, but probably got to do some work behind the scenes for another couple hours. So I'm pretty stoked, pretty pumped up. Pay for it tomorrow, but that's good. Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
How that works.
You know, I'm still blown away that about that potential signal that was coming from space by the Canadian scientists who found it. Yeah. I'm still kind of blown away by that. What if? You imagine, what if? What if there's these people 185 billion light years away who finally heard our signal?
Well, it would take a really long time. It would take a really long time for them to hear a signal, though, because it'd take them 180 billion years to hear it. But no, it's a crazy thought. You know, the thing that gets me about those stories in general, they're very important because it tells us we're not alone, right? But you know, there was the story about the exosolar planets, super planets that they've been finding, and there was that one where they found that weird one where they found the star, and then they found something moving in front of the star, right? But it wasn't moving at the right rate, that it wasn't orbiting exactly. And then they started suddenly talking about, well, maybe somebody's constructing a Dyson sphere, because it seemed to be getting bigger. And it was you read these stories about these fast radio bursts and you think to yourself, somebody out there must have a really insanely massive transmitter to be able to pull something like that off. It's just like it makes you think, what's out there, really? You know, if they could do that, what else could they do? Right?
It's totally crazy, man. Totally crazy. Anyways, what do we have in the news for tonight, my friend?
Well, there was a deputy cleared in shooting of armed naked man suspect arrested. A Santa Rosa County Sheriff's Office deputy who shot a naked suspect who was armed with a crossbow will not face charges. Deputy Kevin Delgalish, who fired a single shot at Glenn Phillips, was found to be reasonable and justifiable for his action, according to the press release from the Office of the State Attorney. The Sheriff's Office responded to a dispute off Highway 4 after Phillips' father called 911 to report his son was under the influence of narcotics and threatened to shoot him with a crossbow, according to the report. The father arranged to meet deputies first at a convenience store, but never appeared. He later called back at 6:30 a.m., saying his son would not let him back in the residence. Deputies went to the home and obtained sworn statements from Phillips' father and another witness. The father said his son threatened to kill him while pointing a crossbow in his direction. The deputies attempt to make contact with Phillips, who was still inside the residence, for over an hour using a public address system and also by telephone. They gave commands for him to exit the residence with his hands in the air, and he did not. Once backup arrived, Gelish and 3 more deputies entered the home to arrest Phillips, while a sergeant on the scene continued to make commands over the PA system. Prior to entering, the deputies announced their identity and heard Phillips say he was armed and dangerous. Deputies found Phillips naked and armed with a crossbow, the report said. Phillips then pointed the crossbow at the deputies, and that's when DeGillish fired his weapon. The bullet entered Phillips's left armpit. So, got high, got naked, and got armed with a crossbow.
At any point, I'm still trying to figure out why, when people are raging on anything, why they feel the need to go all Incredible Hulk and rip their clothes off and run around naked. Never understood that.
I don't know. I'm at a loss. I'm at a total loss. I don't know where to go with that, Dave.
I mean, what are people expecting? The guy is nude, holding a crossbow and threatening an officer. What is the officer supposed to do?
Shoot him.
Exactly.
I mean, personally, I would prefer he was tased, but I would prefer that he was tased, but, if he didn't have a taser, didn't think about it, if somebody's pointing a weapon at you, you got to defend yourself, I think that's reasonable.
Well, I think with none of us being there, we also have to, I'm sure there was body cam footage or whatever, as grotesque as it may have been. But, I mean, we don't know whether or not how close that guy was to pulling the trigger with the crossbow. And the crossbows, they can kill just as easily as a gun, man.
Oh, yeah. They are a weapon.
Oh, for sure.
I mean, to be naked, armed with a crossbow, nothing good's going to happen. You're not coming out of that unscathed.
I would fully agree. Let's move on to story number 2.
Well, meanwhile, in other places, woman's lawyers suggest chewing coat cause high blood alcohol level. An attorney for a Pennsylvania
chewing
woman
what?
Chewing a coat.
A coat.
A jacket. With drunken driving, hinted his client's coat chewing could have thrown off the results of the breath test. The Bloomsburg Press Enterprise reports the argument came during a hearing Tuesday for 47-year-old Jana Moshkat. An officer who pulled Moshkat over testified she was nibbling on her coat before he gave her the breath test, and that he ordered her to stop. Moshkat's lawyer, Travis Petty, asked the officer if he knew the chemical composition of the coat, noting that certain substances can alter the results of the test. Moshkat's test showed her blood alcohol level was 0.151, nearly twice the legal limit for drivers in Pennsylvania. The officer said Moshkat smelled of alcohol, failed a field sobriety test. The judge ruled there was not enough evidence to send the charges to trial.
She blew 1.51. What more do you need?
Yeah, but she was chewing on her jacket.
You know? What the hell could be on that jacket that could mess with a 1.51 breathalyzer test?
Well, apparently she must have soaked the jacket in pure grain alcohol. And, you know, she chewed on the jacket, so then she blew a 0.151. I can't think of anything else other than soaking the jacket in pure grain alcohol that would do that.
Like what? Did she have a bottle of Jack Daniels just sitting there and I'm going to dump this on my coat just in case I get pulled over?
Flavor additive, man. She was eating her jacket. She needed to flavor it up, so she dumped some bourbon all over it.
The fact that she got off of that's incredible. Absolutely incredible.
It's pretty insane, but the next one's is even more insane.
Oh, let's go for it.
Man brings raccoon carcass into McDonald's, causes a brief closure. A San Francisco man shocked employees and customers at a local McDonald's Sunday morning when he brought a dead and bloodied raccoon into the fast food outlet and laid it on a table. As a result, the restaurant was closed for 2 hours so the dining room could be sanitized. The unappetizing encounter was captured by Chris Brooks, who posted the video on Facebook.
Why would this guy do this?
And there's pictures.
Why would this guy do this? Like, at what point, how intoxicated or stoned do you have to be to think that it's a good idea to bring a dead raccoon into McDonald's?
It gets better. Brooks told SF Gate that the so far unidentified man came into McDonald's screaming for help as he carried the dead animal. He came to the counter, and I thought it was a dog at first. The employees told him to leave, and he went and sat down with it. Brooks said there was blood on the table, blood on the floor, and people were walking around. You could see them tracking the blood all around. The man, who was believed to be homeless, was kicked out of the store while another customer threw the raccoon in the garbage. And the Department of Public Health says that they could not infer anything about the man's condition.
So we don't know. You know, I mean, hey, in that case, if the gentleman is homeless, he may have some serious mental issues. To be
yes, that's probably accurate.
That's pretty sad, but I mean, goodness me, having to shut down a McDonald's for two hours, that's a long time. How are people walking in the blood? Do they not see the dead raccoon on the table?
I don't know. If I was at McDonald's and I don't go to McDonald's a whole lot, but if I did and I saw some guy sitting with a dead raccoon and there's blood all over the place, I'd probably leave.
Yeah.
The cheese,
you know, I crave the cheeseburger. Is that okay? Yeah. It's terrible.
You know, I crave their cheeseburgers and french fries, so occasionally I'll go have one. But it's like, man, if I saw that, no cheeseburger's worth that, let me tell you.
I'm not going to lie. I had a rarity today. I had a Big Mac tonight before the show. Wolfed it down.
There you go.
Got it at like 8:52 Pacific. It was gone by 9 o'clock Pacific before I had to call Tom in. I wolfed it. Big Macs don't last around here. Do not last at all. All right, let's get to your final story of the night, brother, before we got to get to the thought of the Dave.
Wild elephant blocks road, steals from trucks. A wild elephant in Thailand was caught on camera blocking traffic on a road through a wooded area, stealing crops from the passing trucks. The video shows the elephant, known to local park rangers as Aotia, wandered out into the road through a wildlife sanctuary in Chachigaoso, blocking the path of the truck. The thieving pachyderm used his long trunk to steal sugar cane from the open top of the truck's trailer. Rangers said the elephant then inspected the loads from all the trucks behind the original, taking the crops from some. The elephant was checking every car that passed. I think he believed he was a police inspector, said Kun Angulanai, the government wildlife officer who recorded the video. It was like he had set up his own checkpoint to look through the vehicles, just like officers do. When he was finished inside one, one car, he went to the next one. Anand Gulai said official policy is not to try to stop the elephants unless they're posing a danger to humans. The best way to handle the situation is to allow the elephant to continue with what they want. They will walk away when they are ready. If they are frightened, they may react aggressively. Can't read tonight.
Oh, you know what? Either way, good on that elephant for being a thief. Good on him.
Yeah.
You know, that's what elephants are. Absolutely. He knew where to go. He knew to follow the humans. Why not? Go for it.
Sugar cane, baby. Yeah.
Exactly. Let's get to the thought of the day. Brilliant elephant. Brilliant. Thought of the Day happens every night at this time, where we post a question on our Facebook and Twitter pages, then read your responses on the air because we love the audience participation around here. So today's Thought of the Day is as followed. What should happen with UFO reporting companies like MUFON and their information collected? This went a little bit differently than what I thought. Some people answered it correctly, but a lot of people were jumping on the bash MUFON bandwagon for right or wrong.
Something there to bash. I don't think they did the right thing, but
yes, we had that. We talked about that with Tom earlier in the show. Yeah, we hit him pretty hard. I don't know if you had a chance to listen or not, but we hit him pretty hard on some things. Let's get to Stephen. They should be burned at the stake. Why? It's good UFO stuff, man. Grant says MUFON has been usurped. It's controlled opposition, soft disclosure narrative garbage now. William. They should be held to the highest standard of professionalism. Negative issues, such as organizations, should be dealt with in a public and objective manner. Unfortunately, MUFON does not have any competition. APRO and NICAP are not around anymore, so the situation is a form of monopoly. With healthy competition, all the groups would be pressed to do a better job, but that's not the case nowadays. Coral. It depends on the policy manual mindset of the group. If they are trying to find answers, they should be linking into other groups so sharing, comparing, investigating can take place. If a group or company has no guidelines or policies, then the information should belong to the company and be private unless it somehow involves a criminal investigation. Francesca, public disclosure under duty to inform, freedom of information. Brian, rejected and then burned. Kelly, well, everyone should know that the information that is given to MUFON should be public knowledge. If they don't, then MUFON should have everyone sign a paper saying that their information will be public knowledge. I mean, it's MUFON, so it's probably not the best saved information to begin with. Gail, they are a waste of time and money. So what if a UFO is seen and reported? The information is used for nothing. Employees prance around the world like galactic cheerleaders, producing nothing. Headquarters are in some of the priciest real estate in the U.S., and they put on a fancy dog and pony show once a year that plays the same information as the years before, resulting in nothing. They serve no purpose and are misleading the public. I believe cleaning up the UFO community begins with these sham reporting organizations. Stop supporting them, let them close, and come up with a better and more purposeful reporting method. Trixie, it should be stored in a massive database for people to thumb through. Then leave the personal information off if requested, and then someone like us could go in, grab the information, compile something that would be organized. That way we have both a depository of information, then whatever people do with that info. Let's go to, let's see here. Keith, Reverend Keith. I have yet to see any written acknowledgement that information given to MUFON was private. Thus, legally, they did nothing criminal. However, even in lieu of any fiduciary trust, they damaged their reputation and should and are suffering the consequences of their actions. A demand for a written privacy agreement should be raised. I think that's a Good place to leave it. Let's see. Maybe we can sneak something else in. Chris Cogswell, our scientist. They should be made public, which is what we tried to do when I was with MUFON. But it's the only thing that makes them money besides donations from dupes. Then he went on to say to Renee, it could be, what was she asking? She was asking in regards to information being private, and Chris said it can be released without personally identifying information being present, which was our exact method. Remove names, addresses, etc., but release information on craft, shape, size, color, images, photos, videos, etc. Susan says it should be made public as well. Mr. Ola Phillips, where can people find Paranoia Magazine?
ParanoiaMagazine.com. And I just put up a new thing. You can find it on our Facebook, Paranoia Magazine on Facebook, Conspiracy 101. Our first episode, we define what Janet Airlines is, and we do it in under 3 minutes.
Beautiful. I like that. And, of course, all of our news can be found at spacedoutradio.com. Click on the news tab. Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire is right there, and you can check out the Facebook page, SOR Newswire, as well. We want to say a big thank you to Tom Whitmore, director of MUFON, coming on the show tonight to talk about MUFON and MJ-12. Always interesting. Tomorrow night on the show, we got John Corner coming in. Author, documentarian, talking about how the CIA potentially assassinated JFK. We'll see where that goes. 9:06 Pacific, 12:06 a.m. Eastern at spacedoutradio.com to get your weekend ready. We got Mr. Ron Bumblefoot THAL rocking in the background with Little Brother is Watching. Bumblefoot is the official music of Spaced Out Radio, rocking us in and out of every single show. Get your horns up for the guitar god himself. Big thank you to everybody listening in at home, at work, on the road, wherever you may be. Everybody in the chat rooms tonight and on Twitter at hashtag Spaced Out Radio. Thanks for playing along. Thanks for your questions. Thanks for hanging on out with me, because together, my friends, we own the night. I will talk to you in 21 hours from now. Mr. Bumblefoot, we need a favor. We need you to take us home. Good night.
We're watching. We watch you fall.